What do you think is the value of journaling and placing one's own narrative on stressful circumstances, especially these non-negotiable circumstances?
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm fascinated by these because I think it's a category of stress that's not often talked about,
Mm-hmm.
and yet is so prominent. So people say, okay, dealing with short-term stress. Okay, well, my lab would say like use physiological size or raise your stress threshold, and we'll get back to that in a little bit as it relates to the work you're doing with breath work. But so many stressors are going to take a year, 5 years. We don't know, the uncertainty that you mentioned earlier,
Mm-hmm.
or the certainty that this is going to go on forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what is the, for people that are listening to this and want to start to adopt practices, do you think that spending some time creating a written or a spoken narrative is helpful? I mean, we hear this, but are there any data that support the use of journaling as a tool? I seem to recall that there are a few studies out there, but I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Creating a coherent narrative is critical to our ability to make sense, find meaning, find resolution, have a social identity around our lived experience, what happens to us. So narrative is kind of everything, right? In stress research, it's not what happens to us, it's how we're interpreting it and how we're responding to it. And I've heard you say the exact same thing when you've talked about what is stress. It's really what narrative we're creating around it. So I think a narrative of purpose, fill in the blank about what's meaningful to you, but that is why we're different than just the rats that we study or the monkeys. Like they have these amazing stress responses we have them too, and we can't control that. But we have the ability to do this projection to the future, to ask what is our purpose in life, to see and know that we are going to die and we can have some control over how we live and maybe even how we die and how we want to be remembered. That is so beautiful. That helps us rise above this being monkeys in clothes.